Have you ever seen someone trip in public and felt the sudden urge to laugh? Not because you're cruel, not because you hate them, but because something inside you reacted before you could stop it. A tiny spark of amusement, a flicker of satisfaction, a strange, guilty pleasure. Now here's the uncomfortable question. Why does another person's failure sometimes feel good? Tonight we're stepping into one of the most unsettling corners of human psychology, a place we rarely talk about, yet experience all the time. And by the end of this video, you might start noticing something disturbing about your own mind. Because this isn't just about laughing at clumsy accidents. It's about envy, status, hidden competition, and a psychological mechanism your brain uses every single day without asking your permission. Let's begin. There's a word for this feeling. A word most people have never heard, yet instantly understand once they do. Schadenfreude, a German term that literally means harm joy. The pleasure derived from another person's misfortune. But before you reject this idea, before you say, "That's not me," consider something. Schadenfreude doesn't always show up as evil laughter. Sometimes it's subtle. That quiet relief when a high achiever messes up. That strange comfort when someone you secretly compare yourself to fails. That whispering thought, "Well, at least I'm not the only one struggling." This emotion is so common, psychologists consider it a normal part of being human. Which raises an even darker question. If it's normal, what purpose does it serve? Your brain is constantly measuring your position in the social world. Not consciously, not deliberately, automatically. Humans evolved in tribes where survival depended on status, acceptance, and hierarchy. Being lower in the pecking order could mean fewer resources, less protection, and even rejection. So the brain developed a shortcut. Instead of asking, "How am I doing?" it asks, "How am I doing compared to others?" And suddenly, another person's failure becomes information. When someone stumbles, your relative position rises, even if nothing in your life actually changes. No promotion, no achievement, no improvement, yet your brain registers a tiny psychological upgrade. It feels like moving up without climbing, winning without competing, gaining without earning. And your mind rewards that shift with a small dose of satisfaction. But this mechanism becomes far more powerful under one condition: when comparison turns into envy. Envy is one of the most misunderstood emotions. People imagine envy as dramatic jealousy, but most of the time it's quiet, invisible, almost polite. You don't necessarily want someone to suffer. You just feel uneasy about their success. Their talent highlights your insecurity. Their achievement magnifies your self-doubt. Their presence becomes a reminder of what you lack. And here's where psychology takes a sharp twist. When an envied person fails, the discomfort disappears. The comparison pressure lifts. The internal tension relaxes. Their fall becomes your emotional relief, which explains why people sometimes feel more pleasure from a rival's failure than from their own success. Pause for a moment. Think about that. Your happiness can be influenced not only by what you gain, but by what others lose. Uncomfortable, isn't it? But it gets even stranger, because we don't feel this pleasure toward everyone. Only towards specific targets. Research shows Schadenfreude is strongest when three ingredients are present. First, similarity. We compare ourselves most intensely to people who resemble us. Same age, same field, same social circle. Their success feels personally relevant. Their failure feels personally meaningful. Second, perceived advantage. If someone seems more privileged, more talented, or more successful, their misfortune can feel like a correction of imbalance, as if the universe restored fairness. Third, hidden competition. Even without direct rivalry, humans exist in subtle competitions for attention, admiration, validation, status, which means Schadenfreude often reveals something we rarely admit. We are constantly competing, even with friends, peers, and strangers, not for survival anymore, but for something far more abstract. Worth, identity, self-esteem. And once you see this dynamic, everyday life starts looking different. Social media, for example, becomes a psychological minefield. Why do public scandals spread so fast? Why do embarrassing moments go viral? Why are fail compilations endlessly watchable? Because digital environments magnify comparison. Every scroll exposes you to curated success, beauty, wealth, achievements, lifestyles, which quietly fuels envy and self-evaluation. And when those polished images crack, when the admired influencer is exposed, when the confident celebrity slips, when the successful figure collapses, it produces a powerful psychological reaction. Not just curiosity, but emotional release. Their fall punctures the illusion of perfection. Their mistake humanizes them. Their failure reassures the viewer. They're not untouchable after all. In a strange way, watching others fail restores balance in a world saturated with unrealistic success. But here's the twist most people never consider. Schadenfreude isn't always malicious. Sometimes it serves a deeper psychological function. Imagine a world where everyone around you appeared flawless. No mistakes, no setbacks, no visible struggles. Only perfection. How would that feel? For most humans, exhausting, demoralizing, even crushing. Seeing others fail reminds us that imperfection is universal, that struggle is normal, that we are not alone in our shortcomings. Which means Schadenfreude can sometimes be tangled with relief, reassurance, even self-comfort. It's not always, "I'm glad they fail." Often it's, "Failure happens to everyone." But this is where things become psychologically dangerous, because there's a thin line between relief and dependency, between comfort and craving. And crossing that line can quietly reshape your mindset. If your sense of satisfaction increasingly depends on others falling, your brain starts outsourcing self-worth instead of building confidence through growth, effort, or mastery. It feeds on comparison outcomes. Other people's mistakes become emotional rewards. Other people's success becomes psychological threats. Over time, this mindset distorts perception. You don't just observe failure, you anticipate it, seek it, perhaps even subconsciously desire it. And that shift changes how you see the world, because life stops being about progress and becomes about relative positioning. Who's ahead? Who's behind? Who just fell? Which leads to a haunting realization. Schadenfreude doesn't reveal darkness in others. It reveals something about the architecture of the human mind. So what does this all mean? Are humans secretly cruel? Not exactly. But we are wired for comparison, sensitive to status, vulnerable to envy, and deeply influenced by social dynamics we barely notice. The pleasure in others' failures is not a glitch. It's a byproduct of how our brains navigate a social world. The real question is not whether you've felt Schadenfreude. You have. Everyone has. The real question is, What do you do when you notice it? Do you let it shape your worldview? Or do you see it for what it is, an ancient impulse playing out in a modern world? Because once you become aware of this mechanism, you start catching it in real time, in your reactions, in your thoughts, in that tiny fleeting feeling when someone else stumbles. And that awareness changes everything. If you found yourself uncomfortably relating to parts of this video, that's not an accident. Human psychology is full of hidden layers we rarely examine, and we've only scratched the surface. If you want to explore more of the strange, unsettling, and fascinating patterns of the human mind, stay curious.
Because the next discovery might be about something even closer to you.